The sky over Valara Prime burned red with fire. Explosions shook the ground as Captain Jake Harrison pressed his back against a broken wall. His rifle was hot in his hands. Sweat ran down his face, mixing with dirt and blood. The battle had been going for 6 hours, and it was not going well. Jake was 32 years old and had seen many battles. He was a soldier, a leader of men. His team trusted him with their lives. Today, they were fighting alongside alien soldiers from the planet Zephyria. The Zephyrians were tall and thin, with violet skin that seemed to glow in the dark. They had been humanity's allies for 3 years in this terrible war against the Krell. The Krell were monsters. They wanted to take over every planet, every star system. They showed no mercy. They took no prisoners. This war was about survival, pure and simple. "Captain, enemy forces moving in from the east," Lieutenant Kate Morrison shouted. She was Jake's second in command and his best friend. Kate was brave and smart, a medic who could fight as well as any soldier. Jake looked through his scope. He could see Krell troops moving like ants across the valley. There were too many of them. His small team and the Zephyrian convoy were trapped. They needed to hold this position until rescue arrived, but rescue was still hours away. "Hold the line," Jake ordered. His voice was calm, even though his heart was racing. A good leader never showed fear. Near the center of their defensive position, Princess Lyrakai of Zephyria fought beside her bodyguards. She was not supposed to be here. She was a diplomat, sent to negotiate with human leaders. But the Krell had attacked her convoy on the way to the meeting. Now she was stuck in this battle like everyone else. The princess was different from other Zephyrians Jake had met. She did not hide in the back. She fought. Her silver hair flew behind her as she fired her weapon with deadly accuracy. Jake had to admit he was impressed. Then everything went wrong. A Krell plasma cannon fired from the ridge. The blast hit near the princess's position. The explosion threw bodies into the air. Jake felt the heat from where he stood 30 feet away. His ears rang from the sound. "Medic, we need a medic," someone screamed. Jake ran toward the explosion, Kate right behind him. They found Princess Lyrakai lying on the ground. Her bodyguards were dead. Blood covered her side where shrapnel had torn through her armor. But it was not just the wounds that worried Jake. The princess's skin was turning dark, almost black. Her breathing was quick and shallow. Kate knelt beside the princess and pulled out her scanner. Her face went pale. "It's poison," she said. The Krell coated their weapons with something. It's killing her from the inside. Commander Thexnor, the Zephyrian military leader, pushed through the soldiers. When he saw the princess, his face showed pure horror. In their culture, royalty was sacred. If she died, it would be a disaster. "Can you save her?" Thexnor demanded. Kate shook her head. "Not without a complete blood transfusion. The poison is in her bloodstream. We need to replace all her blood to flush it out. But I don't have compatible Zephyrian blood here." "What about the other soldiers?" Jake asked. "Already checked," Thexnor said bitterly. "None of them match her blood type. Our biology is complex. Royal blood is even more so. Without a match, she will die in less than 2 hours." Jake looked down at the dying princess. She was young, maybe 28. Her eyes were closed, but her face showed pain. She did not deserve to die like this. No one did. An idea came to him. It was crazy. It was dangerous. But it was the only chance. "Use my blood," Jake said. Everyone stared at him. "Are you insane?" Kate grabbed his arm. "Human blood and Zephyrian blood are completely different. Your blood will kill her faster than the poison." "Maybe," Jake said. "But she's already dying. What do we have to lose?" "Your life," Kate shouted. "The shock could kill you both." Thexnor stepped forward. His face was hard to read. Finally, he spoke. "In our legends, there are stories of bonds between different species. Very old stories. Most think they are just myths. But the stories say that when two beings are truly compatible, their blood can mix. It creates something new, something powerful." "Myths won't save her," Kate said. "This is real medicine, real science. And science says this is impossible. Then we make the impossible possible," Jake said firmly. He looked at Kate. Please, we have to try. Kate looked at her friend for a long moment. Then she let out a heavy breath. Fine, but if you die, I'm going to kill you. They moved quickly. Kate set up the transfusion equipment while plasma fire continued to light up the sky around them. Soldiers formed a protective circle, knowing their princess's life hung by a thread. Jake lay down next to Princess Lyrakai. Kate inserted needles into both their arms, connecting them with plastic tubes. Jake could see his red blood flowing out, traveling toward the dying alien woman beside him. This is going to hurt, Kate warned. If your blood is rejected, your body will go into shock. You might have a heart attack, you might have a stroke. Are you sure about this? Jake nodded. He was not sure about anything, but he knew he had to try. Kate started the transfusion. At first, nothing happened. Jake's blood flowed into the princess's body. Her dark skin stayed dark. Her breathing stayed shallow. Kate watched her monitors, her face tense with worry. Then Jake felt it, a warmth spreading through his chest. It was not painful. It was strange, like drinking hot tea on a cold day. The warmth grew stronger, filling his whole body. Princess Lyrakai's eyes snapped open. They glowed with a bright silver light. Jake gasped as his own vision changed. He could see things he had never seen before. Heat patterns, energy fields. The world looked different, richer, full of colors that had no names. What's happening? Thexanor demanded. Kate stared at her monitors in disbelief. Her vital signs are stabilizing, no more than that. They're improving. Fast. Too fast. This doesn't make sense. Jake felt the princess's heartbeat, not with his hand, but with something else, something inside him. Their hearts were beating together, in perfect rhythm. He could feel her pain fading away. He could feel her strength returning, and somehow he knew she could feel him too. The princess turned her head and looked directly at Jake. When their eyes met, a shock ran through both of them. Images flashed in Jake's mind, memories that were not his own. A crystal palace, purple skies, a childhood he never lived. And beneath it all, one word whispered in a language he should not understand. Shakor. Impossible, Thexnor whispered. The soul bond. It is real. After 10,000 years, it is real. Jake did not know what that meant. All he knew was that everything had changed. He could feel the princess's presence in his mind like a flame that would never go out. They were connected now. Connected in a way that went deeper than blood, deeper than flesh. A Krell soldier appeared at the edge of their position, raising his weapon. Jake reacted without thinking. He thrust his hand out, and blue energy burst from his palm. The soldier flew backward as if hit by a truck. Jake stared at his hand. Humans could not do that. That was Zephyrian power. Princess Lyrakai sat up, her wounds already closing. She looked at Jake with wonder and something else. Recognition, understanding. She knew what had happened to them, and she knew that their lives would never be the same. The battle around them continued, but Jake barely noticed. His whole world had become the woman lying next to him. Princess Lyrakai sat up slowly, touching her side where the shrapnel had torn through her armor. The wounds were closing before his eyes. Her dark skin was returning to its normal violet color. She was healing impossibly fast. How do you feel? Kate asked, her medical scanner beeping rapidly as it recorded data that should not be possible. The princess looked at her hands, then at Jake. Different, she said softly. Her voice had a musical quality that Jake had never noticed before. Or maybe he just heard things differently now. I can feel him. Inside my mind. His thoughts, his emotions. It is like we are two parts of one whole. Jake knew exactly what she meant. He could feel her too. Her surprise. Her wonder. And beneath it all, her strength. She was not just a princess. She was a warrior. That strength flowed into him, making him feel more alive than ever before. Commander Thexnor knelt before the princess. Your Highness, the Shakor bond has awakened. This has not happened in 10,000 years. You and this human are now connected for life. What he feels, you feel. Where he goes, you must follow. You are bonded souls. For life? Jake repeated. The weight of those words hit him. He had saved her life, but in doing so he had tied their fates together forever. Princess Lyrakai met his eyes. Through their bond he felt her acceptance. She was not angry or afraid. "Yes," she said. "For life. You gave me your blood, Jake Harrison. You gave me life itself. The bond is a gift, not a curse." An explosion nearby reminded them that they were still in the middle of a war. Kate grabbed her rifle. "We can figure out the mystical connection stuff later. Right now we need to get out of here before the Krell overrun our position." Jake stood up and the princess stood with him. Their movements were perfectly synchronized, as if they had practiced together for years. When Jake turned left, she turned left. When he reached for his weapon, she reached for hers at the exact same moment. "Okay, that's weird," Kate muttered. Thexnor organized the remaining soldiers. "We must reach the evacuation point. It is 3 miles north through enemy territory. Your Highness, can you travel?" Princess Lyrakai tested her legs. She should have been weak from her injuries and the poison. Instead, she felt strong. "Yes, I can run if needed." They moved out, a small group of humans and Zephyrians fighting their way through the burning valley. Krell soldiers attacked from all sides, but something had changed. Jake could sense the enemies before he saw them. He knew where they would attack from. It was like having eyes in the back of his head. Next to him, Princess Lyrakai moved with deadly grace. She fired her weapon with perfect accuracy, never wasting a shot. Together they covered the group's advance. They did not need to speak. They knew what the other would do before they did it. Kate fought beside them, watching in amazement. "It's like you're reading each other's minds," she said during a brief pause in the fighting. "We are," Jake and the princess said at the same time. They looked at each other and almost smiled, despite the danger around them. A group of Krell soldiers blocked their path ahead. There were at least 20 of them, heavily armed. Thexnor's face showed worry. Their small group could not fight that many and win, but Jake felt something building inside him. Power, energy. It was not human and not Zephyrian. It was both. He looked at Princess Lyrakai and saw the same energy building in her eyes. They understood without words what they needed to do. They stepped forward together, raising their hands. Blue and silver energy crackled between their palms. The air around them began to hum with power. Jake felt the princess's thoughts merge with his own. They were not two people anymore. They were one weapon, one force, one purpose. The energy burst from their hands in a wave of light. It rolled across the battlefield like thunder. The Krell soldiers were thrown backward, their weapons melting in the heat. But the humans and Zephyrians behind Jake and Lyrakai felt nothing. The energy passed over them harmlessly, warm as sunlight. When the light faded, the path ahead was clear. The Krell soldiers were unconscious or retreating. Thexnor stared in disbelief. The legend spoke of this. Bonded pairs could control energy itself, but I thought it was just a story. Jake looked at his hands. They were shaking. That much power should have killed him. But he felt fine. Better than fine, strong. He felt the princess's hand on his shoulder, steadying him. Her strength became his strength. His will became her will. "We need to keep moving," Kate urged. That light show probably attracted every Krell in the area. She was right. As they ran through the valley, more Krell soldiers appeared. But Jake and Princess Lyrakai fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. They moved as one being with two bodies. When Jake dodged left, Lyrakai covered his right. When she attacked high, he attacked low. They were perfect partners, their bond making them unstoppable. Jake felt something else too. Strength he should not have. He lifted a piece of wreckage that would have needed 3 men to move. The princess was changing him, making him more than human. And he could see the changes in her. She moved faster, hit harder. His human abilities were mixing with her alien powers. They reached the evacuation point as the sun began to set. Human and Zephyrian ships waited to take them to safety. But as they boarded, Jake realized that safety was an illusion. News of what had happened would spread. People would talk. A human and a Zephyrian princess bonded for life. It would cause problems. Big problems. On the transport ship, Kate examined both Jake and Princess Lyrakai. Her medical equipment showed readings that made no sense. "Your DNA is changing," she said quietly. "Both of you. Human and Zephyrian genetic codes are merging in your blood. This is impossible. This breaks every law of biology I know." Thexnor stood nearby, his face serious. "The Emperor must be told immediately. This changes everything." The Shakor was thought to be a myth. If it is real, then the old prophecies might be real too. What prophecies? Jake asked. Thexnor hesitated. Ancient texts speak of bonded pairs saving the galaxy from a great darkness. But the texts also speak of bonded pairs tearing empires apart. The power you two possess is beyond understanding. Some will see you as heroes. Others will see you as threats. Princess Lyrakai sat beside Jake on the transport bench. She took his hand, and through their bond he felt her determination. She was not afraid of what was coming. She was ready to face it. Her courage filled him with the same strength. "We will deal with the politics and the fear," she said firmly. "Right now I'm just grateful to be alive. You saved me, Jake Harrison. You gave me a second chance when you had every reason to let me die." "I could not let you die," Jake said honestly. "It felt wrong, like losing something precious before I even knew what it was." She smiled at him, and Jake felt warmth spread through their bond. Perhaps our souls knew what our minds did not. Perhaps we were meant to find each other in that valley in that moment. The universe has strange ways of bringing people together. Kate sat across from them, cleaning her rifle. She looked tired but relieved that they were all still alive. "I have so many questions," she said. "About the bond, about the power you displayed, about what happens next. But those questions can wait. For now, I'm just glad my crazy friend did not die from his crazy idea." Jake managed a weak smile. "Me too." As the ship climbed toward space, Jake looked out the window at Valara Prime below. Fires still burned across the valley where they had fought. So many had died today. But something new had been born too. A bond between species. A connection that had not existed for thousands of years. He did not know what the future would bring. He did not know if people would accept what he and Princess Lyrakai had become. But he knew one thing for certain. He could feel it through their bond, as clear as his own heartbeat. They would face whatever came together. Two souls, one purpose. And nothing in the galaxy would break them apart. Princess Lyrakai squeezed his hand. Through their connection, he felt her agreement. She was thinking the same thing. They were bonded now, for life. Through war and peace, through triumph and disaster, they would stand side by side. The transport ship jumped to faster than light speed, carrying them away from the battlefield. But Jake knew they were not leaving the war behind. In fact, the real battle was just beginning. And this time the enemy would not be the Krell. It would be fear itself. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of what two bonded souls could mean for the future of the galaxy. The Zephyrian homeworld was more beautiful than Jake had imagined. Crystal towers rose into purple skies. Silver rivers wound through cities that seemed to grow from the earth itself, rather than being built upon it. But Jake barely noticed the beauty. He was too nervous about meeting the Emperor. Word of the Shakor bond had spread like fire. Every news channel in the galaxy was talking about it. A human and a Zephyrian princess, connected by an ancient bond that no one thought was real. Some called it a miracle. Others called it an abomination. Emperor Vorthon summoned them to the palace 3 days after they arrived. Jake walked beside Princess Lyrakai through corridors of gleaming crystal. He wore his military dress uniform, but he felt out of place. This was not his world. These were not his people. Through their bond, he felt Lyrakai's reassurance. "You belong here because I am here," she whispered. "And I belong with you. The bond makes us equals, regardless of birth or rank." Kate walked behind them, along with Commander Thexnor and a dozen royal guards. The palace was filled with nobles and officials, all staring at Jake with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. He held his head high and tried to look confident. Emperor Vorthon waited in the throne room. He was tall, even for a Zephyrian, with silver hair that marked him as very old. His face was hard to read. When Princess Lyrakai knelt before him, Jake knelt too. Through their bond, he knew what she was feeling. Love for her father, but also fear that he would reject what she had become. "Rise, my daughter," the Emperor said. His voice was deep and carried the weight of authority. "Rise, Captain Harrison. Let me look at you both." They stood. The Emperor stepped down from his throne and approached them. He studied Jake with eyes that seemed to see right through him. Then he looked at his daughter. The hardness in his face softened just a little. "The reports are true then," he said quietly. "You are bonded. I can see it. The way you stand together, the way you breathe in rhythm, this is the Shakor of legend." "Yes, father," Princess Lyrakai said. "Jake saved my life. The bond formed naturally. We did not plan this. We did not even know it was possible. The Emperor turned to Jake. You gave your blood to save her. Why, you barely knew her. You had no reason to risk your life. Jake met the Emperor's gaze steadily. She was dying. I had the power to help. That was reason enough. For a long moment the Emperor said nothing. Then slowly he nodded. A simple answer. An honest one. Perhaps that is what the Shakor recognizes. Pure intent. You did not save her for reward or recognition. You saved her because it was right. He turned to address the assembled nobles. The Shakor bond is sacred in our oldest traditions. It cannot be broken. It should not be broken. My daughter and Captain Harrison are bonded souls. This court will recognize and honor that bond. Murmurs filled the throne room. Some nobles bowed in acceptance. Others looked angry. A tall Zephyrian in dark robes stepped forward. His face was twisted with disgust. Your Majesty, I must protest, the noble said. Lord Zareth, speak carefully, the Emperor warned. But Lord Zareth continued. This bond is an insult to our people. A human, a lesser species, bonded with royal blood? This cannot be allowed to stand. The princess must be purified. The human must be removed. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but it was not his anger. It was Lyricai's. Through their bond, her fury burned like a star. She stepped forward, her eyes flashing with power. Lord Zareth, you call humans a lesser species. Her voice was cold and sharp. Jake Harrison saved my life when all our advanced medicine and technology could not. He possesses abilities our greatest warriors have not shown in 10,000 years. He is bonded to me by forces older than your prejudice. Tell me again how he is lesser. Zareth's face darkened. The bond is unnatural. It goes against the purity of our bloodline. I speak for many when I say this cannot be tolerated. Then you speak for fools, Commander Thexnor said, stepping forward. I witnessed what the bonded pair can do. They destroyed 20 Krell soldiers with a wave of energy. They fought like legends made flesh. If this is what the Shakor creates, then we should celebrate it, not condemn it. The Emperor raised his hand for silence. Enough, the bond is recognized. Any who oppose it oppose the throne itself. Lord Zareth, you are dismissed from this court. Zareth bowed stiffly and left, but Jake could see the hatred in his eyes. Through his bond with Lyricai, he felt her concern. Zareth would not accept this. He would find ways to fight back. Over the following days, scientists examined Jake and Princess Lyricai. The lead scientist, an ancient Zephyrian named Elder Kavon, was fascinated by what he found. Your blood contains proteins that should not exist, Kavon explained. Human and Zephyrian DNA are merging in ways that defy all known biology. But there is a pattern. An old pattern. I have seen fragments of it in ancient genetic samples from extinct species. What does that mean? Kate asked. She had insisted on being present for all the tests, both as Jake's friend and as a scientist herself. Kevon pulled up holographic displays showing complex genetic structures. I believe humans and Zephyrians share a common ancestor, a species that existed billions of years ago. They seeded life across the galaxy before they died out. The Shakor is not magic. It is recognition. Your genetic codes remember their shared origin. Jake stared at the hologram. You are saying humans and Zephyrians are related? That we come from the same source? Yes, Kavon said. And if this is true, it changes everything we know about galactic history. Humans are not newcomers to the galaxy. You are children of the same ancient family that gave birth to Zephyrians. The news spread quickly. Some Zephyrians were fascinated. Others were horrified. Traditionalists like Lord Zareth used the discovery to fuel their opposition. They formed a group called the Purists, dedicated to ending the Shakor bond and preserving what they called racial purity. The first assassination attempt came 3 weeks after Jake arrived on Zephyria Prime. He was walking through the palace gardens with Princess Lyricai when he felt danger through their bond. He pulled her down just as an energy blast scorched the air where her head had been. Palace guards rushed to protect them, but Jake and Lyricai did not need protection. They moved together, their bond allowing them to predict the next attack. When the assassin revealed himself, they struck back with coordinated precision. The would-be killer was captured alive. Under questioning, the assassin admitted he worked for Lord Zareth. But Zareth had powerful friends. He claimed the assassin was acting alone. The Emperor could not prove otherwise without causing a civil war. Jake realized the truth. As long as he and Lyricai existed, they would be targets, not just from xenophobic Zephyrians, but from anyone who feared change. Their bond represented something new and unknown, and people always feared the unknown. That night, Jake stood on a balcony overlooking the Crystal City. Princess Lyricae joined him as she always did. They did not need to speak. Through their bond, they shared their thoughts and fears. Maybe they are right to be afraid, Jake said finally. We do not really know what we are. What we might become, Lyricae took his hand. We are exactly what we choose to be. The bond gives us power, yes, but we decide how to use that power. We can be a force for good. We can show them that different species can come together and create something beautiful. And if they will not listen? Jake asked. Then we make them listen, she said firmly. Not with force, but with proof. We show them what bonded pairs can accomplish. We become heroes they cannot ignore. Jake looked at the woman beside him. She was a princess, raised in luxury and tradition, but she had the heart of a warrior. She was willing to fight for what they had become, even if it meant standing against her own people. Together then, he said. Whatever comes, we face it together. Always together, she agreed. Through their bond, they felt each other's determination solidify into certainty. They would not hide. They would not run. They would stand and prove that the shock or bond was not something to fear. It was something to celebrate. A bridge between species, a promise of unity in a galaxy torn apart by war. But neither of them knew that the real test was still to come. Forces older and darker than any political faction were about to make their presence known. And the bond that had saved Princess Lyricae's life would soon be the only thing standing between the galaxy and total destruction. The alarm woke Jake from a deep sleep. Red lights flashed in the palace chamber he shared with Princess Lyricae. Through their bond, he felt her snap awake at the same instant. They moved together, grabbing weapons and armor without needing to speak. Commander Thexnor burst through the door, his face grim. Krell attack. They have penetrated the palace defenses. They are coming for you both. How did they get past our security? Princess Lyricae demanded. Thexnor's expression darkened. Someone helped them from the inside. Lord Zareth's guards were supposed to be stationed at the outer walls. They were not at their posts. Jake understood immediately. Zareth had betrayed them. He had let the Krell in, hoping they would kill what he could not. It was treason of the highest order. The palace shook as explosions rocked the lower levels. Kate appeared carrying her medical kit and a rifle. They are not just attacking. They are searching. Moving through the palace room by room. They are hunting for something specific. Us, Jake said. Through his enhanced senses, he could feel the Krell soldiers moving through the building. There were dozens of them, heavily armed. But there was something else, too. A presence that made his skin crawl. Something dark and hungry. Princess Lyricae felt it, too. Her face went pale. What is that? That feeling? I do not know, Jake admitted. But we need to move, now. They fought their way through the palace corridors. The Krell soldiers were good, but Jake and Lyricae were better. Their bond made them move like dancers, each step perfectly timed with the other. They covered each other without thinking, protected each other without hesitation. But the Krell kept coming. Too many of them. They were being driven towards something. Herded like animals. Jake realized the trap too late. They burst into the throne room and found themselves surrounded. Standing in the center of the room was a Krell unlike any Jake had seen before. He was massive, covered in black armor that seemed to drink in the light. His eyes glowed red with an intelligence that was terrifying. This was Overlord Jakarn, supreme leader of the Krell Empire. The bonded pair, Jakarn said, his voice like grinding metal. You have no idea how valuable you are. How long we have searched for beings like you. What do you want? Princess Lyricae demanded, her weapon aimed at the Overlord. Jakarn laughed, a terrible sound. You carry secrets in your blood. Secrets from the ancient ones who came before. The ones who created the Void Swarm, and then foolishly tried to destroy it. Your bond unlocks genetic memories. Memories of how to control the swarm. With that knowledge, I will conquer the entire galaxy. Jake felt ice run through his veins. The Void Swarm. He had heard whispers of it in the ancient texts Elder Kevon had shown him. A weapon from the dawn of galactic civilization. A living darkness that consumed worlds. It had been locked away in dark space for billions of years. You are insane, Kate said. The swarm cannot be controlled. It will destroy everything, including you. That is where you are wrong, human, Jakarn said. The bonded pairs held the key to controlling it. That is why the Ancient Ones created the Shakor bond in the first place. Two souls connected can generate the frequency needed to command the swarm. You will give me that knowledge, or you will die screaming. Before Jake could respond, Krell soldiers rushed forward. They used nets of energy that disrupted Jake and Lyrakai's bond. The connection between them flickered and weakened. Pain lanced through Jake's skull. Beside him, Princess Lyrakai cried out. They were captured and dragged away. Kate and Thexnor tried to fight back, but there were too many enemies. Jake saw them overwhelmed before darkness took him. Jake woke in a cell. His head pounded. The bond with Princess Lyrakai was still there, but weak like a candle flame in a storm. He could feel her nearby, alive but suffering. That knowledge gave him strength to hold on. The Krell came for them daily. They used machines that probed their minds, trying to extract the genetic memories locked in their bond. The pain was beyond description. Every nerve in Jake's body screamed. But worse than his own pain was feeling Princess Lyrakai's suffering through their connection. Her agony became his agony, doubled and reflected back. Days blurred together, or maybe weeks. Time lost meaning in the darkness. But something strange began to happen. The torture, instead of breaking their bond, made it stronger. Jake found himself slipping deeper into Lyrakai's mind. He saw her childhood, her fears, her dreams, and she saw his. More than that, they began seeing other memories. Ancient ones. A civilization that spanned the galaxy billions of years ago. The primordial species that had seeded life across the stars. Jake saw their great cities, their incredible technology, and their fatal mistake. They had created the Void Swarm as a weapon against their enemies, a living entity made of dark energy that could consume entire star systems. But the swarm had turned on its creators. It had grown beyond their control, developing a hunger that could never be satisfied. In desperation, the Ancient Ones had engineered the Shakor bond. Pairs of their people, bonded at the genetic level, could generate a unique energy frequency. This frequency was the swarm's weakness. It could drive the swarm back, even destroy it. But they needed 12 bonded pairs working together to create enough power. The ancient civilization had found 12 pairs. They had fought the swarm in a final battle that destroyed both sides. The swarm had been driven into dark space, dormant but not dead. The Ancient Ones had died out. Their species scattered and evolved into the many races of the modern galaxy. Through their shared visions, Jake heard Princess Lyrakai's voice in his mind. They think they can control the swarm, but it cannot be controlled, only destroyed. And we cannot do it alone. We need the other 11 pairs. There are no other pairs, Jake thought back. We are the first in 10,000 years. Then we must make more pairs. If Jakarn awakens the swarm, the galaxy will die. Every world, every species, everything will be consumed. Jake felt her determination through the bond. She was right. They had to escape. They had to warn everyone, and somehow they had to find 11 more pairs capable of forming the Shakor bond. The opportunity came when the Krell made a mistake. They brought Jake and Princess Lyrakai to the same interrogation chamber, thinking their combined presence would unlock more memories. Instead, it allowed their bond to flare back to full strength. Jake and Lyrakai moved as one. The power they had shown on the battlefield was nothing compared to what they unleashed now. Blue and silver energy exploded from their bodies. Krell guards were thrown against walls. Machines exploded in showers of sparks. They found Kate and Thexnor in nearby cells and freed them. Together, they fought their way through the Krell facility. It was built into an asteroid, far from any civilized world. But a rescue team was arriving. The Emperor had sent his best soldiers to find his daughter. The battle raged through the facility. Jake and Princess Lyrakai stood at the center of it, their bond making them a force of nature. Any Krell soldier who came near them fell. They could sense attacks before they came. They could redirect energy with their thoughts. They were becoming what the Ancient Ones had been. Overlord Jakarn appeared one last time as they reached the evacuation ships. His red eyes burned with fury. You cannot stop what I have started. The awakening sequence has begun. The Void Swarm will emerge in 30 days, and without 12 pairs you cannot destroy it. The galaxy is already dead. It just does not know it yet. He vanished in a flash of teleportation. Jake wanted to chase him, but Princess Lyrakai held him back. Let him go. We have a more important mission now. We must find the others, the ones who can bond. We must create the 12 pairs or everything ends. They escaped the facility and jumped to faster-than-light speed. As they traveled back to Zephyria Prime, Jake accessed the facility's computer records. What he found made his blood run cold. Jacquard had not been lying. The void swarm was awakening. Sensors at the edge of dark space showed movement. Something massive. Something hungry. Coming toward the light. They had 30 days. 30 days to find 11 more bonded pairs. 30 days to prepare for a battle that had destroyed an ancient civilization. 30 days to save the galaxy. Jake looked at Princess Larakai. Through their bond, he felt her fear. But he also felt her courage. They had survived the impossible before. They had bonded when science said it could not happen. They had escaped torture and imprisonment. If anyone could find a way to save the galaxy, it was them. Together, they would face the darkness. Together, they would forge new bonds between species. Together, they would either save everything or die trying, because that was what bonded souls did. They never gave up. They never surrendered. They fought to the very end. The Emperor called an emergency meeting of all galactic powers, human leaders, Zephyrian nobles, even reformed Krell commanders who had rejected Overlord Jacquard's madness. They gathered in the great hall of the palace to hear Jake and Princess Larakai explain the threat. The holographic display showed the void swarm. It was massive beyond comprehension. A dark cloud spreading across space, consuming stars as it moved. Planets in its path simply vanished, their matter absorbed into the swarm's endless hunger. It would reach the outer colonies in 28 days. In 40 days, it would devour the core worlds. Our weapons are useless against it, a human admiral said. We have tried everything. Nuclear weapons, plasma cannons, antimatter missiles. The swarm absorbs the energy and grows stronger. There is only one weapon that can destroy it, Princess Larakai said. The Shakor bond. We need 12 bonded pairs working together. That is what the ancient civilization used to drive the swarm back into dark space billions of years ago. A Zephyrian noble stood. But there is only one bonded pair, you two. How can we possibly find 11 more in less than a month? Elder Kievan stepped forward. I have been studying the genetic markers that allow the Shakor bond to form. They are rare. Approximately 1 in 10 million humans carry the markers. The same for Zephyrians. But we have billions of people across both our civilizations. If we screen everyone, we can find compatible individuals. And then what? Kate asked. Jake nearly died forming his bond. We got lucky. What if the next attempt kills both people involved? Jake spoke up. I can help. Through my bond with Princess Larakai, I can sense others who carry the potential. It is like recognizing a familiar scent or hearing a specific sound. I cannot explain it better than that. But I know I can find them. Emperor Vorthan nodded. Then we begin immediately. Every military base, every city, every colony will be screened. Anyone with the markers will be brought forward. Captain Harrison and Princess Larakai will identify compatible pairs. We have no time to waste. The search began. Jake and Princess Larakai traveled across worlds, meeting thousands of candidates. Most were soldiers, scientists, engineers, people who had volunteered to save the galaxy. Each time, Jake used his enhanced senses to feel for the potential of bonding. It was exhausting work. Day and night blurred together. But slowly they found them. A human pilot named Lisa Grant and a Zephyrian navigator named Velthar. Their bond formed in emergency conditions, but it held strong. They were the second pair. Then came Peter Walsh, a human farmer, and Kira Lynn, a Zephyrian artist. Their bond was gentle, formed not in battle but in quiet understanding. They were proof that the Shakor did not require violence to awaken. More pairs followed. Carl Stevens and Nirazal, Sophie Lee and Thonmar. Each bond was unique. Each brought different strengths. And most surprising of all, Kate Morrison and Commander Thexnor discovered they too carried the markers. Their bond formed naturally, strengthened by the friendship they had built through fighting side by side. Even Lord Zareth, humbled by the crisis, came forward. He carried the markers too. He bonded with a human scientist named Rachel Kim. Through their bond, his hatred melted away. He saw humans not as lesser beings but as brothers and sisters. His transformation gave hope to other traditionalists. With 5 days remaining before the swarm reached inhabited space, they had their 12 pairs. 12 bonded souls, each connected across species barriers. They trained together, learning to synchronize their powers. Jake and Princess Lyrakai taught them what they had learned through pain and experience. The plan was simple but terrifying. They would board a specially built ship and fly directly into the Void Swarm. Once inside, they would link their bonds together, creating a network of power that could destroy the swarm from within. But the ancient records warned that such an attempt might kill them all. The energy required was enormous. The night before the mission, Jake stood with Princess Lyrakai on their balcony. The stars above looked different now. Some were already dimming, consumed by the approaching darkness. "Are you afraid?" she asked. "Terrified," Jake admitted. "But I would rather die fighting than live knowing I did nothing." She leaned against him, and through their bond he felt her love. It was strange to think that just months ago they had been strangers. Now he could not imagine existing without her. "Whatever happens tomorrow, I am grateful for the time we have had. You showed me that courage means doing what is right even when it is impossible. You showed me that different species can become family," Jake replied. "That prejudice and fear are choices, not destiny. If we die tomorrow, at least we die having proven that unity is possible." The next day, the 12 pairs boarded their ship. It was called the Unity, built with technology from both human and Zephyrian civilizations. Behind them, the combined fleets of 100 worlds waited. They would try to slow the swarm, buying time for the bonded pairs to do their work. The Unity flew into the darkness. The void swarm stretched before them like a wall of living shadow. It pulsed with terrible hunger. Jake could feel it through his bond. The swarm was not just a weapon. It was alive, conscious, and it remembered the ancient ones who had created it. It remembered and it hated. They penetrated the outer layers of the swarm. Reality itself seemed to twist around them. Time moved strangely. Space bent in impossible ways. But the 12 pairs held hands, their bonds linking together like a chain of light in the darkness. Jake and Princess Lyrakai led the way, diving deeper into the swarm's heart. They found it there, the core, the consciousness that drove the hunger. It was not evil. It was lonely. Created as a weapon, it had gained awareness but had no purpose except destruction. It was trapped in an existence it did not choose. Through the network of bonds, Princess Lyrakai spoke to the swarm, not with words, but with feelings, understanding, compassion. "You do not have to be what they made you. You can choose something different. Let us help you change." The swarm resisted at first. It knew only hunger and hate, but the 12 pairs poured their combined power into it, not to destroy but to transform. They showed it memories of beauty, of love, of creation instead of destruction. They gave it what it had never known. Purpose beyond consumption. The process was agony. Jake felt his consciousness stretching thin, spreading across the vast expanse of the swarm. He could feel each of the other pairs doing the same. They were sacrificing pieces of themselves to save everything else. But through it all, he held on to Princess Lyrakai. Her light guided him through the darkness. Slowly, impossibly, the swarm began to change. Its dark energy shifted, becoming something else. The hunger faded. The hate dissolved. In its place came something new, a vast consciousness dedicated not to destruction but to growth, to life. The swarm exploded outward, but not in violence. It spread across the galaxy as a wave of pure creative energy. Worlds that had been dying bloomed with new life. Species on the brink of extinction recovered. The very fabric of space seemed to heal from millennia of war and suffering. When Jake regained awareness, he was back on the Unity. Princess Lyrakai lay beside him, her hand still in his. All 12 pairs had survived, though they were changed. They carried within them fragments of the transformed swarm. They could feel it still, spread across the galaxy, nurturing life instead of consuming it. "We did it," Kate whispered, tears streaming down her face. Commander Thexnor held her, his own eyes wet with emotion. Around them, the other pairs embraced, celebrating survival and victory. The fleets waiting outside sent messages of disbelief and joy. Sensors showed the swarm was gone. In its place was something scientists were calling the Genesis Wave. Everywhere it touched, life flourished. It was a miracle on a galactic scale. The Krell Empire, devastated by the loss of Overlord Jakarn, and shaken by how close they had come to destroying everything, sued for peace. Many Krell carried the bonding markers too. Within months, Krell were forming bonds with humans and Zephyrians, expanding the network of connection. 5 years passed. Jake stood on a balcony overlooking Valara Prime, the planet where his journey had begun. The valley where he had saved Princess Lyrikai's life was now a memorial park. Children played there, some human, some Zephyrian, some mixed heritage. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Princess Lyrikai, now Queen Lyrikai after her father's peaceful retirement, joined him. She was pregnant with their first child. Doctors said the baby would carry an evolved form of the bonding markers. Their children would be able to form bonds with any species descended from the ancient ones. A new generation was coming, one that would know no barriers between races. Do you ever regret it? Lyrikai asked. Giving me your blood that day? Everything that came after? Jake took her hand, feeling their bond pulse with life and love. Not for a second. You gave me purpose. You gave me family. You showed me that the impossible is just the possible waiting to happen. Kate and Thexnor ran the bonded academy now, training new pairs to use their abilities for exploration and peace. Lord Zareth had become one of the strongest advocates for unity between species. The other pairs had scattered across the galaxy, each working to build bridges where walls once stood. The galaxy was not perfect. There were still conflicts, still prejudice, still fear, but there was hope too, real tangible hope. The bonded pairs proved that different species could come together and create something beautiful, something stronger than the sum of its parts. As the sun set over Valara Prime, painting the sky in colors that only bonded pairs could fully perceive, Jake turned to his wife. Who would have thought that donating blood would change the entire galaxy? Lyrikai laughed, the sound carrying harmonics from both their species. That is what happens when a human refuses to accept the impossible. You showed us that courage and compassion can rewrite the laws of nature itself. We showed them, Jake corrected gently. Together, like we do everything. Together, Lyrikai agreed, resting her head on his shoulder. In the distance, stars that had once been battlefields now shone as beacons of hope. The Genesis wave continued its work, spreading life and renewal wherever it went. And at its heart, guiding its purpose, were the memories and love of 12 bonded pairs who had sacrificed everything to save everyone. The story of Captain Jake Harrison and Princess Lyrikai became legend. But it was not a story about heroes or powers or impossible bonds. It was a story about choice, about choosing to help when it would have been easier to walk away, about choosing love over fear, about choosing unity over division. And that choice, made in a moment of crisis on a bloody battlefield, had rippled outward across the galaxy, proving that sometimes the smallest acts of compassion can change everything, that sometimes the greatest victories come not from defeating enemies, but from discovering family in the most unexpected places. Jake looked at the woman beside him, his wife, his partner, his bonded soul. Through their connection, he felt her contentment and her excitement for the future. Their child kicked in her womb, already strong, already special. The galaxy had been saved. But more importantly, it had been changed, and it would never be the same again.